Alright, so we're finally checking out the UZ65. This one I think was announced a while back, at least a couple months back. It's been a while since this has finally been released and arrived here. I've been waiting for this for quite a bit, and it is the first 65mm whoop with 35mm props. These are actually made by HQ. So we obviously have a different frame here and a different flight controller, so in order to fit all the stuff into the same size frame, as you can see, comparing it to here the Meteor 65 frame, 65mm motor. And in order to get a bigger prop into that space, you have to shrink the flight controller. And I had a debate with someone on Facebook as to how that would happen, and I explained that the flight controller would have to be curved, as you can see here. So if you have a normal whip flight controller, which was I think it's a 25.5mm by 25.5mm hole mounting pattern. I believe it's the same hole mounting pattern. The only way to get this into the same space for 35mm prop is to curve the flight controller like this instead of it being a straight line across, and that is precisely what they've done here. And so this is a new flight controller. It's Eachine branded. All this stuff is made by Happy Model, if you guys are wondering. It looks really similar to a lot of the Happy Model stuff. Just a new frame and new canopy and new flight controller, specifically to get the 35mm propeller in here. But this flight controller is not the same as the one in the Mobula 6 because it only has the flight controller and the 401 ESD. The video transmitter is separate here, as you can see, and power switchable 25 to 100 milliwatts. It's got a micro FL connector here and a separate antenna. I think this is the one from the trash can or the Red Devil, perhaps. I can't remember exactly, but you can see it comes with this extra wire and this plug, so it does add a bit of weight, and I'll explain that a little bit later. See, the motors are the 0802 19,000 kV motors here. These are Eachine branded. Again, these are all stuff made by Happy Model, and it looks like they have gotten rid of the plugs on this particular model, so you can see that all the motor wires are direct soldered to the flight controller there. So it does save a little bit of weight, and you get your same pigtail. It's a solid pin PH2 connector for your battery, and you do get 4 batteries that are Eachine branded with the PH2 connector. I think these are also made by Happy Model. They're the same batteries that come from, or that came with the Mobula 6, if you're wondering. So the frame itself is a little bit different. I think it reminds me of like the V2 Mobula 7 frame. It's not exactly sure how durable this is. I had a few crashes in the house and outside in grass, and it seems fine. A few minor scratches, but nothing's broken yet. I'm not exactly sure how durable this is. The shape here is pretty good because it's got these two sort of forks here, so if you hit anything in this angle, it's going to be pretty safe. I think you're going to be in trouble if you hit something over here, or perhaps on this side over here. But it's not brittle. It's somewhat flexible, but it's a little bit less flexible than the Mobula 6 frame. So this is the Mobula 6 frame. This one is a little bit more flexible than the UZ65 frame. So I'm not sure if that's helpful or not, but the canopy seems to be made of the same material as plastic here. But this one doesn't have any flex at all. And obviously this is different from the Mobula 6 canopy, which only has 3 mounting points. This one here has 4 mounting points. Yes, it's all around. But this one still does have a little bit of jello. Now this one still has the Runcam Nano 3, but this is the new version of the Runcam Nano 3. So I think all the Mobula 6s come with this as well. So this is the original Mobula 6. You can see this is the original Runcam Nano 3, and you can see the lens is obviously different. There was a lot of problems with this lens breaking and being out of focus. This is the new lens on the new Nano 3, but I think they've also changed the sensor board because you have the black sun problem on this new sensor. So, and then because of the new lens, this has a smaller field of view. It's actually significantly smaller. It's probably about 15 to 20 degrees narrower on the new camera here versus the old Nano 3. So I was a bit disappointed by this camera. and I'm not sure if there's an easy way to change it, because it does have the same sort of design style, because it has to have a mount there in the back. It's difficult to see. Let's see. It has the same sort of mount style where basically there's no screw holes on the camera board, so you need this little extra plastic part right there, and then you have those screws so you can mount it. The camera angle is adjustable, but not really that much. This is the lowest camera angle you can get right here, which is about I'd say 40 degrees, because the video transmitter gets in the way in the back here, along with these extra wires, so you can't actually lower the camera angle. So if you want to fly this slower indoors, you're going to have some issues, because you're going to be basically looking at the ceiling. You can get more camera angle if you want. You can get up to probably about 60. So if that's your goal, you can definitely do that. Now, with the bigger 35mm propeller, you are going to have more speed if you're just doing like racing, for example. So I think for you guys that are racing, this will probably be pretty interesting to you guys, because you'll be going definitely in straighter lines, and on courses have a much faster speed than the 31mm propeller on the Mobula 6, and also probably better handling in the corners. It does corner better because of the bigger prop. You have just more authority in the turns than on the smaller 31mm propeller. So the only issue I have is that it still comes with 19,000 kV motors and not the 25,000 kV motors on the Mobula 6, and it is heavier. So acro is still going to be an issue. So I just want to show you the weight here so I can explain what's going on with acro. So the UZ, well, at least mine UZ65 comes in at 21.7 grams, and here's my stock Mobula 6, and it's coming in at 19.9 grams. So it's up almost a full 2 grams of weight difference. And even though you have a bigger prop and you do have more power when you're doing like sort of racing style flying, when you're trying to do acro, it just doesn't really see it compared to this one here, because this one's lighter. Yes, it has a smaller prop, but it's got a much higher kV motor, so the acro performance on the Mobula 6 is still better. Another thing is, I think this prop and motor combination does draw a little bit more amps on this battery, and maybe a better battery might be better for this, or maybe even switch into the Beta FPV BT 2.0 connector and use totally different batteries. I haven't tested any of that yet. I may look into that, but especially at the end of the battery, you're going to get more yaw washouts and even flips of death, because yeah, at the end of the battery, the voltage sag is pretty severe on this one. I mean, you get it as well on the Mobula 6, of course, but I thought that would be less noticeable, and because it would be more efficient on the bigger prop, but it doesn't seem to be. Basically, the main advantage you get is faster speeds, going in straight lines, yeah, basically a racing style. But in terms of like acro performance, just didn't see the top end punch out that you can see on the 25,000 kV motors on the smaller prop on the Mobula 6. And obviously this will perform better than the Mobula 6 with the 19,000 kV motors, but I think the 25,000 kV motors on the Mobula 6 are still better for acro. And a couple more things to note is they have the RPM filter enabled on this, but it's running D-Shot 600, and it should be running D-Shot 300 on an F4. So I didn't change it, I just flew it totally stock P2 and everything. That's what you're going to see, the 2 flights here at the end. But I would probably recommend you change it to D-Shot 300. And also it's running some version of 16.77, I think Jazz Maverick ESC firmware. I'm not 100% sure which version it is. I just can tell just when you plug in the battery and the beeps it makes that it's Jazz Maverick firmware. I don't know if it's 24 kilohertz or 48 kilohertz. It's not documented anywhere. So if you're looking for maybe longer flight time, maybe go to 16.8, 48 kilohertz and see how that does. I may do that for a future video. But yeah, I didn't. Obviously, for my initial reviews, I always fly them stock exactly the way it comes. I don't modify them at all. So that's what you're going to see in this video. But if you guys want to see additional testing, let me know specifically what you want to see, because obviously there's a lot of different combinations out there you can do. There's EMU flight, there's different kinds of ESC firmware. Yeah, I didn't want to make a freaking 1 hour video. I just wanted to make a short 10-minute video. So let me know what you guys are specifically interested in terms of additional testing. Please be specific, and I will direct my efforts towards the questions that are most common down in the comment section. Anyway, here's a couple more flights, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.
A little bit windy, but should be flyable still. I have it on some low rates here. Yeah, I definitely feel a little bit more power than with a 31mm props for sure. Can definitely handle a little bit more wind. This RunCam Nano 3 has the black dot sun issues. Interesting. Maybe they changed the sensor. The lens look different too. It's a lot of jello. Just decent control low to the ground. Yeah, it's definitely faster. I mean, it's about the same weight, but you're running a little bit bigger propeller. Should be more efficient too, we'll see. It's not like tremendously faster, but it is noticeably faster. If you're flying this indoors, I think you'll definitely notice it more. Bit of voltage sag. It came down about 3.2. It started flashing. 2.5 minutes. There, oh, yep. There's that voltage sag there. Couldn't recover. Alright, let's just try a new battery. See how far I can get. I'm getting, oh, telemetry lost. Didn't get too far. Let's turn up my antenna here. See if I can't. Nope. Bring it on back. Yeah, telemetry lost. So range is typical. These whoops not so great. I think that was maybe 50 meters. So we got to keep this close. There's a lot of Wi-Fi around here, and it's a soccer field, so. So at the beginning of the battery, not getting a lot of prop wash out there. But at the end of the battery, I got a lot of prop wash, or I actually got the yaw washout. That's why I crashed. So I think that has to do with the power to weight ratio, even though the props are reversed. It's a little bit of wind, but it's fairly stable, even in this little bit of wind. I'm not sure if I like this camera though. And there is something, some kind of, I think one of the motor wires is rubbing against the prop, maybe. I hear it once in a while. I know they're running RPM filter on here, and it looks like Jazz Maverick firmware, but I'm not sure if there's 24 kilohertz or 48 kilohertz. There's a big gust of wind that just blew me right there. That was not where I was expecting it to go. The wind's picking up a little bit. So about what I expected. More maneuverable, a little bit faster. With the bigger prop, probably gonna be a little bit more efficient. Otherwise, nothing really surprising me too much here. And I don't really expect this to be doing a lot of acro either, because it doesn't have the 25,000 kV motors. Just by the end of the battery, about 3 minutes, I guess it looks like. Yeah, just about here at the end of the battery. So you get about 3 minutes of pretty good usable flight, and then after that, it's kind of useless. Go ahead and land it.